Good morning, class. I hope everyone had a wonderful fall break. Before we get started with today's lesson, can anybody tell me the very last thing we talked about before we went on break? Anyone? Katie? Good. Yeah, we talked about the Great Depression. So for this unit, the standard is Standard 6, and we're going to describe social and economic conditions from the 1920s through the Great Depression regarding factors leading to a deepening crisis, including the collapse of the farming economy and the stock market crash of 1929. By the end of this unit, you guys will be able to assess the effects of overproduction, stock market speculation, and restrictive monetary policies on the pending economic crisis. You guys will be able to describe the impact of the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act on the global economy and the resulting worldwide depression. You guys will also be able to identify notable authors of the 1920s, including John Steinbeck, William Faulkner, and Zora Neale Hurston from right here or close by in Notasulga, Alabama. Lastly, you guys will be able to analyze the Great Depression for its impacts on the American family. For example, bonus armies, Hoovervilles, Dust Bowls, and for Dorothea Lange. So can anybody tell me what borrowing money to buy stock is? Anybody? Yes, Christy? You can come up to the board and write it on above the definition. Good. Buying on margin is what it means to borrow money to buy stock. So you only had to really have 10% of the investment to buy the stock, meaning the bank financed 90% of the stock that you were buying. So how would you think that affected people and banks when the stock market crashed? Anybody? Yes, Hunter? Good. So when the stock market crashed on October 29th, 1929, or otherwise known as Black Tuesday, the banks kind of panicked and was like, oh no, we need to get the money from the people that had bought these stocks. So the banks went to the people, and they couldn't finance the rest of they couldn't give back the money, so they got foreclosed on, which in turn made the bank be foreclosed because no one had money. So does anybody have questions about that? No? Okay. Okay, and can somebody else come up to the board and write what they think that this definition is? So this implemented protectionist trade policies. It raised the tariffs on over 20,000 imported goods up to 40%. Anybody? Yes, Daisy? Good. So the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act implemented the protectionist trade policy, which pretty much just meant that we were trying to save our own butts on U.S. soil with trades and imports and exports. So how would you think this impacted trade within the United States with other countries? Anyone? Yes, Marissa? Good. So, yes, that's exactly right. So, a lot of other countries didn't want to trade with us because we taxed them up to 40%. So just imagine you going to Starbucks or Target or anywhere, and you're taxed 40% on everything you buy. you really wouldn't want to shop there anymore either. So that's pretty much what happened with the United States, and which made our trade decline rapidly in the 1920s. Okay, does anybody have questions about the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act? Okay, good. Okay, so for these notable authors, there's John Steinbeck, which you guys should have read this year with Grapes of Wrath, William Faulkner, As I Lay Dying, and Zora Neale Hurston, and she's from Notasulga, Alabama, which is right by Auburn, Alabama, and she wrote Their Eyes Were Watching God. So these are very notable authors that you need to take note of for the Great Depression era. Grapes of Wrath was about the Grapes of Wrath was about the Dust Bowls during the Great Depression and how overproduction and poor farming practices ruined agriculture. Okay, so just make note of these. You will be asked about them later. Anyone have any questions or comments about these authors? Okay. So with the American family, these three main things pretty much devastated a lot of families. So I'm going to ask 3 different students to come up and write the correct word for these definitions. So for the first one, 12,000 to 15,000 World War I veterans marched on Washington and demanded their bonuses they were promised to help resolve their economic hardships. Anyone want to come up? Yes, Emily? Okay, what do you think it is? Yeah, right. That's exactly correct. Bonus Army. So the Bonus Army, or the Bonus Armies, were the World War I veterans that were promised these bonuses if they served. And as soon as the Great Depression hit, they wanted the bonuses that they were promised to help them and their families. Okay, so a shanty town built by unemployed and destitute people during the Great Depression. Who wants to come up and write the correct word? Yes, Justin? Okay. Correct. It is called Hoovervilles. Those were shanty towns built by unemployed and destitute people. Does anyone know why they're called Hoovervilles? Anyone? Okay, Hunter? Correct. It's because President Hoover was the president when the Great Depression hit, so he pretty much was to blame, or people blamed him for the Great Depression happening. Okay, last one. An area of land where vegetation has been lost and soil reduced to dust and eroded, a result of drought or unsuitable farming practice. Anyone want to come up and write the correct word? Yes, Brandon? Correct. It is dust bowls, and these were just that it was the dust that was coming up out of the farming, and it was coming from the soil because it was overproduced, underwatered, there was a drought, the unsuitable farming practice, so just overproduction of the land without it having any breathing time. Okay, good. So does anyone have any questions about bonus armies, Hoovervilles, or Dust Bowls? Okay, moving on. So Dorothea Lange was this woman to the left picture, and she photographed unemployed men, women, and displaced farmers during the Great Depression, and she captured what it was like to be a person who was unemployed or displaced from the Great Depression, who lost their jobs. This woman in the middle, she has her 2 kids, and this person on the right with her kid, his or her kid, you can just see and feel the pain on their faces. So Dorothea Lange, she photographed and captured every bit of the Great Depression and how people were feeling. Okay, any questions? Okay. Okay, so we are going to do a little competition. We're going to do the left side of the room versus the right side of the room. And let's start. Okie doke. Okay, what was the day the stock market crashed called? A, Black Friday, B, Ash Wednesday, C, Black Tuesday, or D, Cyber Monday? Okay, the left side of the room. Someone can come up and choose the correct answer. Black Tuesday, you're absolutely correct. Good job. All right, we're going to spin for the right side of the room. Okay, right side. How high were the tariffs raised when the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act was passed? A, 60%, B, 2.6%, C, 90%, or D, 40%? And someone can come up and choose the correct answer. Correct, it is D, 40%. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay. All right, left side. Okay, so what percentage of stock did you have to have in order to buy on margin? A, 90% or B, 10%? Good, it is 10%. Does anybody have any questions, or are they confused about why they only have to have 10%? Okay, moving on. All right, right side, let's spin. Okay, I hope you were listening to this. Where was Zora Neale Hurston from? A, Raymer, Alabama, B, Columbus, Georgia, C, Notasulga, Alabama, or D, Zanesville, Ohio? Good! I'm so glad you guys got that. Okay, Notasulga, Alabama, you're absolutely correct. Alright, so the game is done. Let's see how we did. Okay, awesome. We both tied, so you guys listened pretty well. I'm very proud of you guys. So this does conclude today's lesson. I will put an assignment up on the classroom website. Make sure you do that tonight, and you can we'll go over it tomorrow.